waiting for a couple of members to join.
Yes, Councilman Harris Dawson. Councilman Harris Dawson as the chairman.
Present.
Councilmember Gilbert Cedillo.
Present.
Councilmember Bob Blumenfield. Absent. Councilmember Mark Ridley Thomas. Not here. And Councilmember John Lee.
Present.
So we have 3 members. We have a quorum, Mr. Chairman.
Excellent. So we can commence our regular or special meeting of Los Angeles City Council's Planning and Land Use Management Committee. If Mr. Mejia, you can start us off by reading the public comment rules, and you'll follow up with the public comment instructions.
Certainly, Mr. Chairman. I will begin. Members of the public who would like to offer public comment on the items listed on the agenda should call 1-669-254-5252 and use meeting number 161-644-6631 and then press number sign. Press number sign again when prompted for participant ID. Once admitted into the meeting, press *9 to request to speak. During public comment, city staff will call on members of the public by the last 4 digits of their phone number. By pressing *9, callers raise their virtual hand. Once the caller hears the last 4 digits of their phone number, they will need to press *6 to unmute themselves and should be ready to speak. Once the caller is ready to speak, he or she must state their name and the items they are calling to speak on. Failure to do so will result in the call being muted and subsequently disconnected. Appellants and or their representatives and applicants and or their representatives will be allowed to speak for a total of 3 minutes per side unless otherwise noted by the chairman of this committee. Members of the public wishing to speak on one agenda item only shall have an opportunity to speak for 1 minute. Members of the public wishing to speak on more than one item shall state that and shall be allowed to speak for a total of 2 minutes. This concludes my remarks, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mejia. All right, so we'll begin our meeting with folks who want to do public comment on more than one item. You'll have a minute for each item, up for a total of 2 minutes. So we'll start public comment with folks who want to speak on more than one item. You can press *9 to raise your hand, and our team will facilitate you getting into the meeting directly.
Bienvenidos a todos, a aquellos que quieran hacer una aportación pública. Lo pueden hacer por medio de oprimir la estrella 9 para levantar la mano o estrella 6 para levantar el micrófono. Entonces, usted podrá dar su aportación pública. Gracias.
We cannot hear the person who's talking, Mr. Marquez. I think that's you.
Okay. Caller with the number ending in 7719, can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Hello, it's Eric Previn from Studio City calling.
Which items would you like to speak on?
I'd like the maximum time, which is 2 minutes, I guess, on the items, including item 3, which is an effort to increase the fees, including fees.
Mr. Previn, we need you to indicate what items you want to speak on out front before.
Okay, let's start from the beginning. I said item 3 and the other items on the agenda. Okay, but let's start from the beginning. You can't interrupt me like that, sir.
En este momento me gustaría hacer una aportación pública del artículo número 3.
Are you indicating for me to continue, or am I waiting?
You can continue, sir.
Okay, let's give me a proper 2 minutes. Thank you. So item 3 is an effort to study looking at all the fees, and you want to increase the fees, including doubling of appeal fees for non-applicants. This is a terrible idea, and I know Mr. Cedillo is a big advocate and hates CEQA and can't imagine why anybody would challenge anything, because the idea that more luxury condos is the only way to get out of the homeless crisis.
Sir,
People do disagree.
Make this personal, sir. Just
People do disagree. No, keep quiet, sir. Come on. I don't talk during your time. So we know that there's an effort to attack CEQA, but this is a very important process where applicants, non-applicants rather, have to challenge things because they're egregious and horrifying. So there's a Brown Act case called Previn versus the City of Los Angeles that requires that you hear from people when you put things like this on the agenda. And what alerted me was it says request to continue till February 16th, 2021. But historically, you deny people the opportunity to comment on these items at special meetings, and it's the same type of activity that I was forced to bring suit against the city over. So that's why I wanted to make it very clear that it's important to take these comments, and it's a terrible idea, by the way, to increase the fees on people who are it's like saying, let's get rid of public comment when they can't possibly say anything. I mean, there's many efforts underway to block people from advocating.
Sounds like you're talking about public comment and not the item.
No, item 3, sir. Item 3 is a item to increase the fees, okay? So I know you don't like what I'm saying, but I'm telling the truth, which is that you should take comments on item 3.
So that's your time.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right, well, good luck.
Caller with the number ending in 0893, can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Yes, hello, this is Untitled calling.
Hi, can you please state your name and the items you wish to speak on?
Yeah, my name is Ansis Hoheisel, ANSISHOHEISEL, and I'd like to speak on item number 9.
So we're only taking multiple comments at this time. Do you have another item you'd like to speak on?
No, just number 9.
Okay, so you're going to have to give that public comment when we get to item 9.
Great.
Thank you.
Just so we're clear, your hand should be raised now only if you want to speak on multiple items. And we will allow 20 minutes for this section of the agenda. But this is only for the people that want to speak on multiple items. We're trying to afford you the opportunity to speak on all of it at once, as opposed to having to wait till the item comes up.
Caller with the number ending in 2993. Can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Sorry, my hand was raised. I only have a single item to speak about. I'll wait until that item.
1 second.
All right. In order to give folks time to go on and click their button to lower their hand, I want to, Mr. Mejia, go through the items that are going to be continued today, or that there's a request to continue today. So if we could go over those items, I believe they're items 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We can take care of that business while we try to get straight on the phone lines.
Yes, Councilman. I will read them into the record. Item number 2, this is a report for the Cultural Heritage Commission relative to the inclusion of the Chili Bowl located in CD 11. And the request there is to continue it to March the 2nd, 2021. Item number 3, Mr. Chairman and committee members, is a report from City Planning. It's recommending various actions to update the city's comprehensive fees as it relates to planning and land use services. The request therein is to continue the item to the next meeting, February the 16th, 2021. Item 4, Mr. Chair and committee members, this is a report from the Planning Commission. It includes 2 appeals. The appellants are appealing the various land use entitlements for a mixed-use project, which will include 640 apartment units and 5% moderate income units in CD10. The request therein is to continue it to the April the 6th, 2021 meeting. Item number 5, this is the track map for the previous item, same appellants, same project located in CD10. Again, the request is to continue it to April the 6th, 2021. And item number 6 is a motion by Councilmember Cedillo O'Farrell. It's instructing city planning along with the city attorney to consult with city attorney rather to prepare and present an ordinance to establish a hillside construction regulation supplemental use district in the Mount Washington specific plan area located in CD1. The request therein is to continue it to our next meeting of February the 16th, 2021, Mr. Chairman.
All right. If there's no objection to those items, I'll ask you to call the roll on continuing those items. Mr. Mejia?
Certainly. Councilmember Marquise Harris Dawson is chairman.
Yes.
Councilmember Gilbert Cedillo.
Yes.
Councilmember John Lee.
Yes.
And that's 3 members, and those actions carry, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chair, if we could have the translators speak in Spanish and Korean for the public, indicating that items 4 and 5 are continued.
Sure.
Mr. Marquez? Or Ms. Kim?
네, 4번과 5번 안건은 오늘 계속해서 진행됩니다.
Would you like me to translate, Mr. Chairman, for item? Although Mr. Marquez is there.
Solamente queremos mencionar que el artículo 4 y 5 se ha aplazado para abril 6, 2021. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right. Thank you to our translators. Hopefully we have that arrangement worked out more efficiently going forward. So to all the callers on the line, we're going to open up the lines for folks who want to speak on more than one item. If you want to speak on more than one item, now is the time to raise your hand. You just heard the items that are being continued, so we won't be taking comments on those items. So items 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, we won't be taking comments on those. So if any of the remaining items, if you want to speak on more than one of those, we invite you to raise your hand now. And we'll go to public comment from those people.
Caller with the number ending in 9977, can you please press *6 to unmute yourself and then state your name and the items you wish to speak on? Caller with the number ending in 9977. Caller, can you please press *6 to unmute?
Apologies, I thought I already did. I'm just curious, when will the continued items be able to be spoken on? I was calling about number 6, but it seems I may have just missed that.
So it looks like we still got some single item folks on the queue. So what we're going to do is I'm going to ask staff to clear the queue. We'll go to item 1. And we will have a discussion on item 1, and then we'll try again after we've heard from the inimitable Mr. Vince Bertoni.
Okay,
so
I can pause, no problem.
Mr. Mejia, can you read item 1 into the record?
Yes, item 1, Mr. Chairman and committee members, is Mr. Vincent Bertoni's weekly report.
Excellent. Mr. Bertoni.
Thank you, Chair Harris Dawson and members of the Land Use Management Committee. Vince Bertoni, Director of Planning. My update this week, I just wanted to give you a recap of our some activities of our City Planning Commission. As you know, many of their activities will end up as items before this committee. On Thursday, January 21st, the City Planning Commission held a special meeting that they entitled Equity Day, and this was a result of, this was driven by the City Planning Commission. They created an equities subcommittee made up of City Planning Commissioners Karen Mack, Helen Learn, and Caroline Cho. This subcommittee really formed the agenda for the day, and we as staff supported them. And the goal of the day was for the commission to better understand how structural racism is built into the city's existing land use policies and practices, and to begin the process of pursuing an anti-racist framework to guide future decision-making on planning-related projects and policies. They had more than 300 people attend virtually on Equity Day, and hearing from community groups as well as that have been participating in planning issues, equitable development, and housing justice initiatives. The speakers on that day included our City Controller, Ron Galprin, Laura Muraida from Scope, Building Healthy Communities South LA, Faisal Robley from our own Department of City Planning, as well as representatives from the Unidad Coalition, Unite Here, Little Tokyo Community Council, and the LA Tennis Union, where translators in 6 languages were available for public comment. Those were the 6 languages most utilized. And we are in the process now, is in addition to taking public testimony, they had a survey, a community surveys that focus on equity and planning. And that survey generated about over 150 responses. So right now, staff, we're summarizing the comments that we received that day, as well as what was received in the survey, and we'll be presenting that back to the Planning Commission at a future date, most likely in April, for them to think about their own work that they do, and how they could their own work can be informed by what they had heard from on Equity Day. So that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to take any comments or answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Bertoni. Any questions or comments from members of the committee? All right. Exciting stuff, Mr. Bertoni. We will look forward to these things coming to maturity over the coming months and weeks and years. So again, thank you for your report. We'll receive and file item number 1. Do you need to do a roll call on that, Mr. Mejia?
If that's the pleasure of the chairman, yes.
It's not the pleasure of the chair. I just want to make sure we stay legal. If we could, all right, so we'll receive and file that without objection. Let's go, let's go back to public comment to see if there are any public comments on item number 1. Now is the time to raise your hand if you have a public comment on item number 1. All right, seeing no public comment, we'll go to item number 7. You can read that into the record. Yeah.
Yes, item 7, Mr. Chair and committee members, is a report from the Department of Building and Safety in response to a motion of Farrell Koretz-Ryu relative to the penalties that can be imposed for unpermitted remodels, additions, and demolitions of buildings, mainly designated historic buildings and historic resources.
All right. We'll begin our discussion on this matter with a report from representatives from the Department of Building and Safety.
Yes.
Along with Mr. Bernstein from Department of City Planning.
Good morning, committee president, fellow committee members. Frank Lara with Department of Building and Safety. I will be presenting. The Department of Building and Safety was instructed to prepare a report relative to monetary penalties that can be imposed for unpermitted remodels, additions, and demolitions. We have prepared that report and submitted it to the council file. The report presents a listing of existing fees authorized by the municipal code, which can be assessed by the department for this unpermitted work. The fees serve as a deterrent to performing unapproved construction and also assist the department to recoup costs associated with enforcement. These fees were also evaluated for potential increase. The report also presents examples of fines or penalties that are imposed by other jurisdictions as a means to discourage similar unapproved construction. For instance, City of San Antonio ties fines to fair market value. The City of Palo Alto ties fines to the replacement value of a structure. City of San Francisco uses daily administrative or civil penalties. And the City of San Antonio considers demolition by neglect as a civil offense and imposes penalties of $1,000 per day. The report also presents the feasibility of non-monetary penalties. These range from building moratoriums to civil action, which can include court-appointed receivership, to other aggressive alternatives being employed by other jurisdictions. The City of Glendale employs a demolition deterrence ordinance, which contains affirmative maintenance provisions and requires the reconstruction of the destroyed features that were illegally demolished. The footprint of the new construction must also be limited in size to what was illegally removed. The City of Pleasanton has a similar ordinance. So in conclusion, the report presented numerous options to penalize and discourage unpermitted demolition or alteration. The department welcomes additional instruction to further facilitate the goals of this motion, and I'm now available for any questions you may have.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lara. Before we go to Department of City Planning, I want to make sure everybody who wants to speak on item number 7 raises their virtual hand now. If you're on the phone, you can press *9. You want to raise your hand now if you want to speak on item number 7. With that, we'll go to Mr. Bernstein.
Thank you, Councilmember Harris-Dawson. Good morning. Ken Bernstein with LA City Planning and Office of Historic Resources. I'll be very brief. We're very pleased to collaborate with LADBS on this report back on the motion. This has been an area of great concern to many of our communities and many participants in our historic preservation program. When we have demolition without permit, unpermitted demolition, the only enforcement tool the city now has typically is the so-called Scorched Earth Ordinance that can prohibit issuance of a permit on a property for up to 5 years. That can be a very blunt instrument, and many communities do not want to see a property remain vacant for 5 years. So we're very appreciative of the motion and the collaboration with LADBS, and just wanted to call the attention of the committee to a communication from the Cultural Heritage Commission that our department and our office staffs sent January 28th with recommendations from the commission on some of the policy options before you, and particularly recommending the imposition of some of the non-monetary penalties related to the size and footprint of the replacement project. With that, I'm available for any questions as well.
Thank you so much. Right now, we'll go to a public comment on this item. Staff, if we have folks who've raised their hand to speak on item number 7, now is the time to bring them into the meeting.
Caller with the number ending in 9927, can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Hi. Hello.
Hello. Hi. We can hear you. Please state your name and the
yes.
on.
My name's Elizabeth Israelowitz. I raised my hand initially for number 1, but there was apparently not enough time for those with visual impairments or other disabilities to be able to navigate their phone. So I would like to first speak on item number 1. Hello?
We can hear you.
We can hear you. Go ahead and speak on the content that you'd like to deliver.
Okay, first is item number 1. My name is Elizabeth Israelowitz. I attended the event, and it was really informative, but I was very disappointed that there was a lack of interaction that the public was able to have on a topic such as racial justice, to really stratify the public and the speakers and not allow actual conversations and vocal questions, really just enhanced and highlighted the inequities that are in our system right now. And there was no way for it to be streamed on public television that I was aware of. Again, highlighting the lack of access and the lack of thoughtfulness from this city as to what low-income people of color are really experiencing and how they want to be able to participate in civic engagement and what civic engagement really means in the age of COVID and moving forward in the digital age.
Thank you.
That's all I have to say for item number 1. I noticed you guys skipped item number 4, but I actually have from the neighborhood council, and we have a comment on the continuance. It is my understanding.
Ma'am, those items have
item number 4. Yeah, we're not speaking on item 4.
I'm on the neighborhood council, and we have a comment on the continuance. My understanding is neighborhood councils are allowed to comment on continuances. Please ask the city attorney if I'm incorrect.
This is Terry Kaufman, Mesilla City Attorney's Office. It's appropriate to comment on the fact of the continuance.
Right. So you have a total of 2 minutes for the meeting. No,
I'm sorry. I'm from the neighborhood council. I'm sorry. I have a comment from the neighborhood council. I get up to 5 minutes as per standing rules.
Comment on the continuance. Comment on the other item. We're going to give you an additional 2 minutes to comment on all of it.
Terry Kaufman, Macias, ma'am, did you submit your statement to the clerk?
We submitted a statement regarding the item, but we did not submit so we submitted a CIS for the item, but we wanted to make a vocal comment on the continued treatment of our constituents. And again, on the Brown Act, if it is agendized, we are supposed to be able to make a comment. And the Neighborhood Council has prepared and voted on this verbal comment in addition to the CIS that was put through the system. And standing rules state that I should have 5 minutes.
Excuse me. At this point, we're absorbing a lot of time talking about whether or not you're going to make a comment. So why don't you?
So then let me make it please. Thank you. I would like to call to attention. Sorry. I can't tell if somebody else is speaking.
We can hear you. You have 1 minute to speak on the continuance of the item. Thank you.
So I would like to call to attention the poor treatment of our constituents. There have been numerous Brown Act violations that they have had to deal with during the CPC. They are also here on their own behalf. They're here right now. And I would like to remind the committee that they are the ones that pay the salaries. They are the ones that are the voters, not Jameson, not any developer. They have been treated very poorly, and we at WCKNC are very concerned about this treatment. The CPC repeatedly showed a complete lack of disregard for their time, effort, the Brown Act, ADA, and Title V of the Civil Rights Act, Title IV of the Civil Rights Act. Most recently, they were not provided notification of requested continuance for this case, further highlighting what appears to be a pattern of favoritism towards developers and a lack of regard for the voice of the community. Ms. Long, Ms. Gallen, and nearly 1,000 signees are the people this council and this committee are sworn to serve. They pay your salaries. They voted you into, excuse me, I have 5 minutes based on standing rules. So if you would like to take this up with the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment, please do. But I find this very disrespectful. And I find it intimidating, and I do not believe that you should be intimidating neighborhood.
Caller with the number ending in 9927, can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
They pay your salaries. They voted you all into office, not the developers like J.
Caller with the number ending in 5087. Can you please press star 6 to unmute?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yes, thank you. This is Brian Curran, representing Hollywood Heritage. We would like to speak in support of the report that was just commented on with regards to potential raising of penalties with regards to the illegal demolition of buildings, particularly historic buildings. Hollywood had a significant case on Hawthorne last year. So we not only support the raising of monetary fees, but also would encourage the implementation of the City of Glendale's requirements of in-kind restoration or replacement of the destroyed building and following the footprint of the existing building in any new construction. In this way, it will ensure there will be a significant deterrent against the demolition of historic buildings, as many times you'll have a property owner try to vandalize or partially demolish a building to take away character-defining features, which could aid in its declaration as a historic cultural monument. Thank you.
Councilmember Harris Dawson, Terry Coughlin, Mesilla City Attorney's Office. I just want to put on the record that the person who was speaking on behalf of the neighborhood council, it was off topic. She seemed to be talking about what happened at CPC and not on the continuance. So I just wanted that on there for the record.
Thank you.
Caller with the number ending in 5915. Can you please press star 6 to unmute yourself now?
Hi, this is Doug Haynes. I wish to speak on 7, but I think the city attorney will confirm that since this is a special meeting agenda, that all items have to be open for public comment, and I did want to briefly speak on number 3. So that was the case that Eric Previn had spoken about. That was confirmed by the Court of Appeal. So on item 7, real quick, Mr. Bernstein pointed out that there's essentially no enforcement of the Scorched Earth Ordinance. That's been confirmed by the speaker you just had, Mr. Curran. That's the problem we're having with all these demolitions. We don't have any enforcement. On item number 3, I would like to speak briefly. The appeal fee would almost double, and it's a punitive measure. The planning department would only save $15,000 by a doubling of that. Instead, it would be a huge hardship on people who file appeals to be almost $200 an appeal, particularly when you have multiple items that you have to appeal, like a tentative track in addition to a director of planning decision.
Thank you, sir. Your
And
minute.
also, well, I should have 2 minutes. I mean, this is not fair. And again, this is a special agenda item. We should be allowed under the Brown Act to speak on each item on the agenda.
So you're
if
getting
I
one
may.
for item 7. Item 3 has been continued.
But I'm pointing out that item 3, because this is a special agenda, all items are open for public comment under the Brown Act. And I believe
Terry Coughlin, Mesilla City Attorney's Office. There was an opportunity at the beginning of the meeting to speak on all items under the multiple
I called in and I was cut off. We weren't given that opportunity. Only Eric Previn was given that opportunity, and then the chair stopped the multiple agenda items. So I tried to speak, and I hit star 9 to speak, and I wasn't allowed to. So you can't take away the opportunity after the fact when I wasn't allowed initially to speak. And again, my comment
Go to our
is very
next caller,
brief.
please. Thank you.
Well, that's not fair.
Caller with the number ending in 5915. Can you please press star 6 to unmute?
You just called my number again. I just spoke. This is Doug Haynes.
Sorry. Caller with the number ending in 1642. Can you please press *6 to unmute yourself? 1642. Caller, can you please press *6 to unmute?
Hi, sorry, it wasn't unmuting for some reason. I'm going to hold off to agenda item number 9, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Caller with the number ending in 2980. Can you please press *6 to unmute yourself? 2980.
Great. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Great. Thank you. Good morning. I'm Adrian Scott Fine with the Los Angeles Conservancy. Meaningful deterrents to unlawful, unpermitted demolitions are in great need for Los Angeles right now, as we are currently absent these, or they are inadequate or rarely employed. So for that reason, we are supporting this, as we believe there is a critical need, as current minimal violation fees are routinely factored into the basic cost of doing business. We're recommending two approaches here, as there is no single solution, but rather a combination of deterrents that are needed. We ask the city to adopt both monetary and non-monetary penalties focused on increased fees, and a provision tied to a limitation of size for a replacement project when an unlawful demolition has occurred. Thank you.
Caller with the number ending in 0203. Can you please press *6 to unmute?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Can you please state your name and the items you're speaking on?
Sure, happy to. This is David Wheatley regarding the raising the fees. I'm not sure what the number is. Yeah, I totally support this. A couple years ago, I was invited to come and witness a demolition of a structure where there had been a city law or ruling to not demolish it. And the developer had gone ahead anyway, and as the public gathered to protest, he stood over to the side laughing at us. We absolutely need these to go up. Kudos to the building and safety people who have done the research. Maybe some criminal penalties would be good, 30, 60 days in jail, plus all the others. Also, Cahuenga Bloomfield, which I tried to speak on last time, he wouldn't let me in. The demolition by neglect is underway. If building and safety could please look into that. They're allowing squatters at 2. Anyway, this is very specific. If you could please look into that or contact me, I would really appreciate it. And we absolutely need these controls and a strong likelihood of prosecution, too. Thank you very much.
Caller with the number ending in 5137. Can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Hello, this is Jamie Penn, one of the representatives from the Wilshire Center Koreatown Neighborhood Council. This is open for general public comment, is that correct?
No, so right now we're taking public comment on item number 7.
All right. Also, it's not sir. My pronouns are she, her. So the report from the Department of Building and Safety. So the penalties absolutely just aren't needed now. We don't need any more penalties. But I do want to mention that a community impact statement submitted gives a neighborhood council representative 5 minutes. And that is absolutely the rule from the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment. And I encourage anyone listening to send emails to the city attorney. That's an egregious abuse of the neighborhood council system. I yield the rest of my time. Thank you.
Caller with the number ending in 8408. Can you please press *6 to unmute? *8408. Can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Yeah, I'd like to speak on the demolition, raising the fees. Hello, do you hear me?
We can hear you. You have 1 minute.
Yeah, great, thank you. Yeah, so, I think obviously it's very important to institute actual penalties for developers who proceed with demolitions that they shouldn't. And I think it's also a wonderful point of reflection for this committee and the broader city council to think about instituting rules and accountability for when people do things that they shouldn't. Maybe like looking at John Lee, who's a member of this committee, who clearly conspired with his former boss, Mitch Englander, to lie to the FBI and, to backdate checks that he never had any intention of paying back. It might be a good idea to also start thinking about that while you guys are doing this. Because
This is off topic.
an
So if you want
embarrassment
to talk
that he's
about
sitting
the
on your
item, we can
committee.
talk about it. If not, we'll end your call.
We're talking about accountability here. Talking about accountability as a general principle.
We're not talking about accountability as a general principle. We're talking about accountability as a result of illegal demolitions and remodels. Go to the next caller.
Caller with the number ending in 6147. Can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Hi, this is Jacqueline Abolkanu.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi. Can you please state your the items you're speaking on?
Actually, item number 9.
Oh, so right now we're on item number 7.
Oh, you're talking about, but I'm calling about the item number 9. But I'm living that area. We need more apartments and more competition for the area.
That concludes our callers for this item.
All right. Any discussion on this item from members? I believe we have a representative from Council District 13 on the line. If there's nothing from Mr. Cedillo or Mr. Lee on this item. Seeing nothing, Mr. Bullock, it's all yours.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Craig Bullock, and I'm with Councilmember Mitch O'Farrell's office. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to attend to comment on this important matter, so you're stuck with me again. The council member introduced this motion with the intent to create a deterrent for those who intentionally and deliberately alter or demolish structures to the point of those alterations being irreversible to avoid review and oversight of their work. Unfortunately, the city has tolerated these actions by having minimal consequences. This is certainly a good example of the adage that it's easier to ask for forgiveness than it is permission. I'm sure each member of this committee and probably each member of the City Council has their own story on how unpermitted demolitions and alterations have negatively impacted their communities. It is time to take action to deter this behavior and work towards and make those who do these actions accountable. I want to take this moment to thank the Department of Building and Safety and the Department of City Planning Historic Resources Office for their work in today's report, and I look forward to continuing our work to create a deterrent for this activity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bullock, and please, on behalf of the residents of Council District 8, please thank your the council member that you represent, Mr. O'Farrell. This is a very, very important motion for us. The way in which developers and redevelopers have approached some neighborhoods in my districts amounts to a hostile evisceration of those neighborhoods and the quality of life therein. And so this item, we believe, will provide hopefully it will provide immediate relief for some of the challenges that we face in the 8th Council District. Comments from other members? Seeing none, I'll ask Mr. Mejia, you've got some instructions that I'll move, if you'll read them into the record.
Sure, Mr. Chairman. The instructions being, will begin, adopt the Department of Building and Safety's recommendations to discourage and penalize unpermitted building demolitions or alterations with the following amendments, and request the city attorney to prepare and present an ordinance with the assistance of the Department of Building and Safety if new fees are recommended to be added or existing fees are increased, and LADBS, in coordination with the Housing Department and City Planning, to prepare any necessary fee study, conduct public hearings. Direct Building and Safety, in coordination with the Housing Department and City Planning, to add protected housing units, RSO, covenant affordable housing as examples, to the types of buildings that will be subject to the additional penalties set forth in the policy, and instruct the Housing Department rather, to join the effort and work with the existing departments on that effort. I will continue. Direct Department of Building and Safety, in coordination with City Planning and City Attorney, to draft ordinance language that would enhance non-monetary penalties for unpermitted demolitions by requiring the replacement project to maintain the footprint, height, and square footage of demolished structures. For properties whose zoning designations allow for multi-family housing, property owners may exceed the footprint and size of the demolished structure up to the existing zoning capacity if they set aside a mandatory percentage of new units for covenant affordable housing or pay an in lieu fee for affordable housing. Direct the Housing Department, in coordination with Building and Safety and City Planning and City Attorney, to conduct an analysis on the tipping point for the affordable housing requirement, setting the percentage to exceed any affordable unit requirements from other housing programs, including the Transit-Oriented Communities Guidelines, otherwise known as TALK, or density bonus, while ensuring that a replacement project is not rendered economically infeasible. That concludes the instructions, Mr. Chairman and committee members.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Mejia. I will move those instructions and ask for a second.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Lee. Mr. Mejia, can you call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Councilmember Marquise Harris Dawson is chair.
Yes.
Councilmember Gilbert Cedillo.
Yes.
And Councilmember John Lee.
Yes.
That's 3 members, and it carries, Mr. Chair.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mejia. We'll go now to item number 9 to manage our time a little bit better and make sure Mr. Mejia and Mr. Cedillo isn't late to his date today.
With his dentist.
Yes.
Item number 9 is a report from the Cultural Heritage Commission relative to the inclusion of the Steyr Staircase Bungalow Court located in CD1.
Good morning again, council members. Ken Bernstein with City Planning and Office of Historic Resources. Before you is the Historic Cultural Monument nomination for a bungalow court located on Sunset Boulevard in the Echo Park community, built in 1922. The Cultural Heritage Commission recommendation on a 3-2 vote by the commission was that the property met 3 of the Cultural Heritage Ordinance criteria. First, exemplifying significant contributions to the cultural, economic, or social history of the community as an example of 1920s working class housing adjacent to a streetcar line. Second, for its association with one of the first female bank executives to make her fortune in the banking industry, Lily Bennett Baldwin Howard. And third, as an excellent example of a hillside bungalow court. Happy to answer any questions the committee may have.
All right, we'll open up public comment on this item. Now is the time to press *9 if you want to speak on item number 9.
Caller with the number ending in 8990, can you please press *6 to unmute yourself now?
Hello. Good morning.
We can hear you. Good morning.
Hi, I'm Annie in Hollywood. I'm with the Franklin Corridor Communities and United Neighbors for Los Angeles, but I'm speaking for myself. I support this preservation. I hope that we can preserve more of our historic bungalows. I also hung on for a really long time to support number 7. I want to thank you all for that. I'm so grateful to LA Conservancy, the Cultural Heritage Commission, and our former council member, David Rue, who we miss greatly. Thank you so much.
Caller with the number ending in 9984, can you please press *6 to unmute yourself? 9984. Caller, I need you to press *6 to unmute yourself.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Israelowitz. I from Wilshire Center, Koreatown Neighborhood Council, speaking on my own behalf. I tried to speak on item number 7, but was not allowed to. I would like that for the record. I am now speaking on item number 9. I, as a public school teacher in this neighborhood, and by the way, teachers don't get paid to come to these meetings. You guys do. We have to make our dentist appointments in the evenings and weekends. So maybe that's an idea you guys should think about. As a public school teacher in this area, working at Placencia Elementary, I know these families who have lived in this bungalow complex. $650 a month for a 1-bedroom. That's what this development on this property would be taking away. I don't know why we're having this conversation about a historic. The families who lived here didn't want developer handouts. They don't want to wait on the streets, hoping that maybe one day their names will be called, and they want you to do your sworn duty. I don't understand why we're considering the destruction of affordable housing. The state has designated Echo Park as a sensitive community and suggested protections to reduce residents' displacement. But excuse me, I still have some.
Caller with the number ending in 7666. Can you please press *6 to unmute yourself? Caller, I can see that you're unmuted.
Hi, my name is Aaron Kane. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi, thank you. I'm a long time member of the community. I live in Council 1 and a lifetime Angelino. I'm calling in favor of the project. I think that the city of Los Angeles and the neighborhood is in critical need of more housing, and people like me that are looking for new places to live cannot find anything. And we have a absorbent amount of homeless population, and the developers are offering low-income housing which is a great addition to the neighborhood and will get rid of this eyesore of a building that's there now on Sunset Boulevard. It's right next to Dodger Stadium. I'm a Dodger fan, and I really want to live close to the stadium, and I would love to live in that new project that's coming along. So I'm all in favor of this project, and I thank the board and the members of the council for listening to us. Thank you.
Thank you. Caller with the number ending in 0893. Can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Yes, hello?
Hi, we can hear you. Can you please state your name and the items you wish to speak on?
Yeah, my name is Ansas Hohazel. I'm speaking on item number 9.
Okay, thank you. You have 1 minute.
Okay, I'm speaking in support of the historic designation of the Stars Bungalow Staircase. I'm a 21-year resident of Echo Park, and I'm also a stakeholder on the Echo Park Neighborhood Council's Planning and Land Use Committee, but I'm speaking today as a former resident of the bungalow court, someone who lived there for 8 years until being evicted last March. This is a beautiful and unique bungalow court. It's extremely historically significant, built in 1922 as housing for crew members of the film industry that was booming in Edendale before it moved to Hollywood. They were the original transit-oriented housing type centered around the Pacific Electric Red Cars Echo Park local line that ran down Sunset and up Echo Park Avenue, and these streetcars greatly influenced the early development of Echo Park and Angelino Heights. There's no designated parking, no garages, no vehicle access. It's truly transit-oriented. The 10 units are centered around a 112-step staircase that climbs up a steep hillside and a classic U-shaped courtyard layout, with each bungalow having their own private front and side yards. And for decades, they've been inhabited by working-class Latino families that made Echo Park their home. I had the privilege of living there for 8 years at the very top of the 112 steps and never felt more of a sense of community. The central staircase served as a communal meeting ground, fostering interaction and dialogue. Kids played in the yard and on the swing while parents convened on the steps. I was invited to countless carne asadas, birthday parties, sporting events by my neighbors, and could always count on them in a type of need.
Thank
Up
you
on the steps.
time.
I wanted to say one more thing. There's this historic preservation overlay zone in the entire neighborhood of Angelino Heights across the street, and
Caller with the number ending in 46. Actually, it's 6147. So 6147, can you please press *6 to unmute yourself? Caller, you went from unmuted to muted. Can you please press *6 one more time? I think we lost the caller. Okay. Caller with the number ending in 6643. Can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Hello, my name is Shelley Kaya, and I'm calling for myself, though I am a member of the Franklin Corridor communities. And I am calling in support of the historical landmark status for the Stars Staircase Bungalow Court. There are many bungalow courts preserved in the flatland areas of the city, but these hillside bungalows built on a steep slope are unique to Echo Park. It's also important to protect and preserve this bit of history for the area. To demolish them has been loudly opposed by the Echo Park community. If you take a step up and into the past, this stairway up the hillside of Echo Park is a reminder of a neighborhood designed for the working class before the domination of the automobile. To climb the stairs not only got you home, but also stunning views of the city. City records indicate that the first stairways made of wood began appearing in Echo Park in the late 19th century, long before streets were paved and the automobile became popular. Some were built through partnerships with the... Can I finish my last sentence? Hello? Can I finish my last sentence?
Ma'am, that was your time. Thank you. Caller with the number ending in 2343. Can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Hey, this is Ethan Webb. I'm a longtime Los Angeles resident, and I'm calling in support of the new projected development. I have a finance background in economics, and anyone with basic knowledge in economics knows that Los Angeles has a huge shortage of homes, and the only way to bring down prices is to create competition. We need to have more units in the area to bring down prices to make homes more affordable so people can now have choices, let alone the fact that the Dodgers won the championship and we have so many fans that want to walk. We need to find a way to give people more housing, not less. Thank you so much for your time.
Caller with the number ending in 1977. Can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Hello?
We can hear you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm calling right now in favor of this project. I currently live in Culver City, where I work from my apartment. I own a ticketing concierge company. I've been looking for a new apartment near Dodger Stadium, and I haven't really seen anything close enough. I would love to move in this new apartment building if it was to happen, because it'd be amazing for my clients, for me, and my overall business. I would also like to say that downtown Los Angeles, seeing what it's becoming, I would think that Echo Park should follow. And I'd like to say thank you for your time, everyone, and have a good day.
So, callers, this item is on a historic designation, so it is not an item to discuss the livability of a proposed development. So I just want to ask folks to stay on topic, which is a historic designation for this project.
Caller with the number ending in 9311. Can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Good morning, council members. I wanted to call in favor of this project moving forward because I personally see no historical value to this. I've been living in the area for 5 years. I pass by this every morning, and I could say that these steps bring really no value to the area. And to say that it's historic based on something that was built 100 years ago is honestly a little unbelievable. Not only are the steps not even ADA accessible, but I don't see any use for them in today's use at all. I think this project moving forward would really gentrify the area and be positive for things for the future of this area and for the betterment of the Echo Park area. Thank you.
Caller with the number ending in 5522. Can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Good morning, council members. I've been a member of this community for a long time, and although I'm usually all about historic preservation, I don't believe that this area is serving any historic value anymore. These stairs are for what purpose? In my opinion, I think if we were to maybe gentrify the area and make it a little bit more modern, it would actually do not only the community a value, but also the businesses around. And it would also increase property value for everyone living in the area. Thank you for your time.
Caller with the number ending in 9557. Can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Hi, my name is Kathy Gudis. I'm a professor of LA history
I worked on Survey LA. I have been long involved in preservation in Los Angeles and have lived in the Stiers neighborhood as a renter for 25 years and as a property owner for a dozen years. I support the landmark designation and first became involved in the Stiers landmarking because I was horrified that in the name of more housing, historic rentals would potentially be demolished along with a unique working class mass transit-oriented community. These bungalow courts represent Echo Park's layered working class past and disappearing present. And if demolished, they physically remove and symbolically erase the Latino presence, the role of women in real estate investment, an LA phenomenon noted for Lily Baldwin's period of Stiers ownership, and multiracial community building. The working class people who lived at Stiers, certainly by the 1940s, based on shifting demographics, were largely people of color, and especially Latino. The site is also significant to Echo Park's radical working history past as the longtime residence of a Chicano activist and organizer of the Chicano Moratorium. Stiers offers us the physical means to represent.
Caller with the number ending in 1642. Can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Hello, my name is Susan Winsberg from Franklin Corridor Communities, but speaking as an individual. I'm urging your support for the nomination of Stiers Bungalow Court. Bungalow courts are increasingly rare, but they're significant and vital to the story of Los Angeles history and culture. They're iconic Los Angeles, and this particular courtyard, built in 1922, has all the notable features of the classical bungalow court. Bungalow courts promote a sense of community. They tie us to our unique history as Angelenos, and they connect us to a simpler, friendlier way of life. This application is a unique example of bungalow courts, and it won approval of Cultural Heritage Commission on all three available criteria. Also, with only 3% of Los Angeles historical cultural monuments representing women's heritage, preserving Stiers means preserving women's history in LA because of the bank executive, the female bank executive who was connected with this property. So I hope you'll agree with the decision of the Cultural Heritage Commission and support the nomination. Thank you very much.
Caller with the number ending in 0191. Can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
This is Kathy Churchill, and I am against the historical designation. We really do not need more historical housing, which translates into luxury housing. We do need housing for people who work in the area. This was built as a working class apartment. If the work that is needed to make it a historical designation is put through, working class people would not be able to afford it. My volunteer activities with homeless agencies has shown how much housing is needed for working families before they themselves become homeless. Increasing the availability of housing for the working class family and building as quickly as possible will help to keep families off the street. Thank you.
Caller with the number ending in 5388. Can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Hi, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I was calling in favor of the project item number 9. I think that it would be a good addition to the neighborhood, making everything look nicer, more affordable housing, low income. I mean, I understand that it's old and everything, but I mean, historic, but LA, the way downtown is shifting into nice new projects, I think we should move in the same way, being that we do have Dodger Stadium, and that's it. Thank you, guys.
Caller with the number ending in 1810. Can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Hello there. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Can you please state your name and the items you're speaking on?
Hi, yes, my name is Valerie Baker, and I'm speaking on item number 9. To Councilman Cedillo and members of the PUN Committee, I urge you to preserve the rich history of your district. Please support the historic landmark nomination for the Star Staircase Bungalow Court. Bungalow courts are increasingly rare and are significant and vital to the story of Los Angeles and its history and culture. The bungalows were built on the Angelino Heights hillside in 1922 in a simple mission revival style. They were designed with no garages, driveways, or vehicle access, and 112 steps connecting these little homes. The history is rich, and to tear it down would be to erase the history of the city that makes it so special, especially as we've been witnessing the aggressive gentrification of Echo Park. I fear the city will be unrecognizable in the next 10 years and not in a good way. Preserve your culture. Preserve the history. It's your job and duty. As someone who moved here from another state, it makes me terribly sad to watch this city's history be wiped out and rapidly on the decline. I personally had the pleasure of spending much time at these bungalows and was surrounded by a sense of community and togetherness nestled in the middle of Elysian Heights. Please allow these residents to stay in their homes during a global pandemic. We have had over 1,500 signatures garnered for a petition urging Mr. Cedillo and Plum to do the right thing and preserve these bungalows. Please deeply consider listening to the communities you represent. Across the street from the bungalows on the other side of Sunset, the entire neighborhood. To say that this housing of the working class is
All right, I want to, to our team, I want to interrupt public comment here because I want to make sure Mr. Cedillo has an opportunity to comment on this item as it is in the district he's been elected to represent. So I will defer to Mr. Cedillo right now for questions or comments on this item before he has to leave.
Mr. Chair, thank you so much for your accommodations. I know some may think that I shouldn't be going to the dentist, but that is, I'm not going to apologize for that. So, let me go forward with this.
I can handle it for you, Mr. Cedillo. Thank you.
Colleagues, let me say this. And I'm glad Mr. Bernstein's here with us today also. Every decision we make, we have to make in the context of the current housing and homeless crisis. And that even includes this decision. This is not an easy decision. The easy decision would be to allow those units to continue to stay there on the hill and have this view of them as being important to the history of the city. I share that point of view. I'm not in dispute with those who advocate for historic preservation. And for those who are new, many people coming to Los Angeles, my record speaks for itself with respect to my work in that area. But this is a decision we have to make today. And while it would be great to preserve and allow to be there, and we note that this preservation is a kind of incomplete choice, because if we don't do this, there's not somebody who's going to preserve these units. There's not somebody who's going to maintain them. There's not somebody who's going to make an investment in them. That doesn't exist. It's simply allow them to continue to stay there. And the alternative, we have a developer who's going to preserve the affordability in every unit and then double it. So we have a developer who's going to double affordability. The speaker who spoke second on this from Koreatown is simply absolutely 180 degrees wrong on the facts. The facts are affordability will be preserved and it's going to be increased. And so what's before us is, and I say this with a little bit of exhaustion, because the last 48 hours I have been working in addition to my job, this is also part of my job, of trying to get a young mother off the streets, out of a tent down the street from here with her child. Her child is now with the county, and get her into one of our shelters not far from here, Casa Azul. The fact of the matter is, as many others, a significant amount of the people who have called in have said, we need more housing. And so we're working with a developer who will make sure that every tenant that's there has a right to return. It's full compliance with the Alice Act. There are subsidies for all those who have moved out. They're all getting $15,000 to $20,000. There are trust funds set aside for those who remain in the range of $15,000 to $40,000. Let me be correct. I don't want to charge him more. $15,000 to $40,000 more or less. And so we are protecting the tenants. We are creating more housing. We are making a decision that recognizes while we share a very firm and strong commitment to historic preservation, we also have to look forward. And we have to look forward here with the development of affordable housing, with the development of workforce housing, with housing that is transit-centered, and with housing that is needed now. And so we go from 10 units to 70 units. We begin to build the type of density that must be built. We are working with a developer who is committed to working with us and preserving and locking in the affordability and in full compliance with all the laws and regulations. I will note that the city's Office of Historic Resources advised that the property did not rise to the level of historic designation. And so let me repeat that again. The Office of Historic Resources advised that the property did not rise to the level of historic designation and noted the very 3 points that the commission went against. And those 3 points noted that this was not a historic, or did not rise to the level of historic designation. And so given the totality of that, and Mr. Chairman, you've kept our discussion very focused, but I think it's important for us to be both focused, but understand the context, historic context that we are in at this moment, and to look forward and how we can do the best job in preserving the affordability and look forward into how we can move people off the streets, have affordable units, provide them with a modicum of good housing for workers, for Latinos, for women, as all have those points been raised, not just in the past, but today and for the future. And so, dear colleagues, I ask all of you to join me in supporting this project to go forward, to oppose the commission and to go forward with the more housing that many people have clamored for. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cedillo, for your thoughtful comments and recommendations on this item. We have a number of people still on the queue. We're going to allow 10 more minutes of public comment on this item. Then we'll have any other further discussion by members and move it to a vote. So staff will go back to callers on this item for 10 minutes.
Caller with the number ending in 1810. Can you please press *6 to unmute yourself? One 1810.
Hello?
Hi, we can hear you.
Hi, my name is Lee. And across the street from the bungalows on the other side of Sunset, the entire neighborhood of Angelino Heights lies under a historic preservation overlay zone because LA's early film stars and business moguls built lavish Victorian homes there. To say that the housing for the working class on the main boulevard do not have the same historic value would be ultimately classist and discriminatory. There have been over 1,500 signatures in a petition to urge you guys to consider preserving these bungalows. We do need more housing, yes, but we also need to preserve our history instead of wiping it out.
All of it?
I yield the rest of the time.
Just wave it.
Caller with the number ending in 1897. Can you please press star 6 to unmute yourself?
Good morning. This is Daniel Rafalian. There is nothing historical about this site. The city staff rejected the site to be historical. The consultant that was hired by the owner stated that the site is not historical about anything historical about this site. It's an eyesore and we need a new housing. The developer is giving more than enough affordable housing. And if we wanted to do the right thing, I urge all the council members to vote yes for the project and let's put a dent in homeless situation that we have in LA. Thank you.
Caller with the number ending in 6033. Caller, can you please press star 6 to unmute yourself? Caller with the number ending in 6033. Caller with the number ending in 3423. Can you please press star 6 to unmute yourself?
Good morning, councilmen and women. Thank you for your time this morning. I'm a resident. My name is actually Christian Aceves. I'm a resident of the community and have been for the past 9 years. I am in favor and support of this new development project. Although these bungalows have been deemed as historic, we cannot overlook the fact that there's a shortage of housing, and this project will bring stability and business to our community. And not to mention, they're also offering affordable housing. I think this will benefit our neighborhood and community for our residents of Echo Park. Thank you for your time.
Caller with the number ending in 6431. Can you please press star 6 to unmute yourself?
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Awesome. Hi, my name is Casey Conley. I'm calling to speak on item number 9 on behalf of the property owner. As property does not meet the criteria to be designated an HCM, is not an excellent example of streetcar or working class housing associated within the CPA. Working class housing is not an identified theme within Survey LA, and no contact is available for evaluation. The peak of the streetcar line was 1911, and by 1920s, most new development around streetcar lines was just infill and not significant development. Additionally, the hillside terrain is a common feature within the CPA, and the center staircase of the property was a necessity of design and commonly found in the immediate area. It is not significantly associated with Lily B. Howard. She did not live at the property. She lived at Mariposa Ave between 1927 and 1938. Howard owned the property for only a short period of time during the last period of her life. Baldwin also held numerous properties as part of her estate, making the property not significantly associated with her life or work. Also, no information, scholarly work, or publications identify Lily Howard as having a significant impact in the banking world. The few articles on her identify her more as a figurehead, and her contribution to the banking realm remains unknown and unsubstantiated. It is not an excellent or intact example of a bungalow court in the Spanish colonial revival style. The building is common in design and features. It also lacks integrity of design, materials, and workmanship, with significant alterations including windows, terraces, patios, entranceways, and interior spaces. Thank you.
Caller with the number ending in 8350. Can you please press star 6 to unmute yourself?
Hello?
Hi, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. My name is Darcy Harris. I was until recently the chair of the Echo Park Neighborhood Council and co-chaired our Pluck Committee for 2 years. And I want to note there was substantial community support for this nomination, more so than we had seen on other nominations in the past. I'm surprised to hear the comments of Mr. Cedillo about affordability and the need for housing after the chair reminded everybody that that's not the issue before us, and we're here about what is historic and not. When you enter this Echo Park neighborhood, this is a symbol that it's a neighborhood with history. It echoes the network of public staircases, and most importantly, for affordability, it's a guide for future development. The small lot subdivision was modeled on the bungalow court, and this will encourage development that will have public buy-in, but also have affordability and pedestrian-oriented density that we are encouraging. And finally, I do think that the units currently that are affordable accommodate families, whereas the additional units, I believe, can also be studios. So I don't think there's actually going to be any increase in the number of people who will be given affordable units, even with this new development. So I would urge you to endorse the nomination. Thank you.
Caller with the number ending in 6885. Can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Hello, my name is Christine Kantner from the Silver Lake Heritage Trust, and I'm actually the applicant for this, for the historic nomination and designation. I would like to yield my time as the applicant to the phone number ending in 8619, which is my colleague Carol Citroni. I will say that this bungalow court, along with the one across the street and the lentil court further west on Sunset Boulevard, really tells a story of this part of Route 66. And I feel that Council Member Cedillo has contradicted the Office of Historic Resources, and I think we need to really talk about what was designated and what was passed, because, and also I was on the board of the Silver Lake Neighborhood Council and part of the Homeless Committee. Homelessness and these new developments are all connected. The Housing Board is not regulating these new developments. So I don't think this developer is going to come in and save the day on homelessness, and this particular property really needs to be considered as part of our story of Angelino Heights and Los Angeles. Thank you.
All right, this will be our last caller.
Caller with the number ending in 4586.
Hi, my name is Brenda Valdivia. I'm part of the Echo Park Neighborhood Council, but I'm speaking for myself. And it's outrageous that the Councilman Cedillo would say those remarks, and it's important to preserve history, and it's a sense of community that the bungalows have. And just to refer, I had a meeting with the developer, and he said that he was only going to allow 6 units of low income. So I don't know how is that going to work out with 70 units. I thought he was gonna do a little bit more, but he refused to. So Yes, thank you.
All right, thank you, callers. Thank you for the interest in this item. We've spent in excess of a half hour on public comment on this item. Mr. Cedillo has shared with us his point of view and investigation and conclusions on the item. I'll invite other members to join the discussion with questions at this time, should they have them. For the record, we've been joined by council members Ridley Thomas of Leimert Park and Mr. Blumenfield of the West San Gabriel Valley. Any questions or comments, members? All right. San Fernando.
Terry Kaufman, Messiah City Attorney's Office. Just to reiterate your point, Councilmember Harris Dawson, that what's before you is a monument designation, and whether or not this particular existing these buildings meet the criteria for the monument, and not the project that people were talking about.
Got it. Thank you. And so, Mr. Mejia, if there's no further discussion, could you read the recommended instructions into the record? I think those are being moved by Mr. Cedillo.
Yes, Mr. Chairman and committee members. The recommendation being to disapprove the inclusion of the Steyr Staircase Bungalow Court located at 1251 through 1259 West Sunset Boulevard in Echo Park in the city's list of historic cultural monuments, and thereby adopt the original findings of disapproval recommended by the Planning Department in its August 6, 2020 report. That concludes the comments, the recommendation.
All right, it's been moved by Mr. Cedillo. I'll second. If there's no further discussion, Mr. Mejia, can you call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, I just say something?
Sure.
Sure, thank you. So look, again, on this question of the designation, that was not the recommendation, and this is specific on the designation. But I also want to take a moment, since there was, I was disparaged in this comment. People should know that I wrote the legislation to preserve and save the St. Viviana's on 2nd and Main. I wrote the legislation to preserve and save the Chinese Museum. I wrote to preserve and save Breed Street Shoal in Boyle Heights. Currently, my staff is working on preserving the home of Morris Kite, working with developers to build both housing and preservation. I also worked to preserve and save the Italian Hall. Those projects were noted and acknowledged in April of 2003. I was honored as the person for state preservation who saved the State Preservation Award. And so our commitment to preservation is well established, part of the historic record of the state, the city. And so this decision, though, is simply following what was put forth by the staff, that this did not rise to the level of that determination because of the changes that had been done to the building and taking them out of it. We are fully aware of the overlay in Angelino Heights and the significance to this community. But again, to close, this has to be done in the context of today, and so therefore we move not to include in the list of historic cultural monuments this property, and we ask that you make that the question to vote on.
It's been moved by Mr. Cedillo, seconded by Mr. Harris Dawson. Mr. Mejia, can you call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Marquise Harris Dawson as chair.
Yes.
Councilmember Gilbert Cedillo.
Yes.
Councilmember Bob Blumenfield.
Blumenfield, aye.
Councilmember Mark Ridley Thomas.
Aye.
Councilmember John Lee.
Aye.
And 5 members, unanimous, Mr. Chair.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Good luck today, Mr. Cedillo, with your encounter. Mr. Mejia, that takes us to item number 8.
Yes, Councilman.
Be there for you, Mr. Cedillo. I'll be there for you.
Item 8.
I welcome that, sir.
Item 8, committee members, is a report from the Cultural Heritage Commission relative to the inclusion of the School of High Education located in CD 10 as a historic cultural monument.
And Mr. Chair, if I may add, the United Neighborhoods Neighborhood Council has submitted a community impact statement for this item.
So noted. Thank you very much. We'll begin the conversation on this and deliberation of this item. Report from Mr. Bernstein.
Yes, good morning again. Council members Ken Bernstein with City Planning and Office of Historic Resources. The School of High Education is a 5-unit multifamily courtyard apartment building in South Los Angeles, designed in the streamlined modern architectural style, built in 1936. The Cultural Heritage Commission recommendation on this item was unanimous and found that it met 2 of the findings to be declared a historic cultural monument. First, as an example, an excellent example of a courtyard apartment building in the streamlined modern architectural style, and additionally for its affiliation with Margaret Darst Corbett, an influential practitioner of the Bates method, an alternative therapy aimed at improving eyesight that was pioneered at this location. So the recommendation is that it does meet historic cultural monument criteria.
All right. We will go to public comment on this item. If you want to speak on item number 8, you want to press star 9. I will note that we'll be on the lookout for Ms. Laura Myers from the Neighborhood Council. So if we can go to public comment at this time.
Caller with the number ending in 5137. Can you please press star 6 to unmute? (5137). Okay, caller with the number ending in 7719. Can you please press star 6 to unmute? 7719.
Thank you. It's Eric Previn from Studio City, and I've always admired Mr. Bernstein's work in the historic cultural landmark.
Previn has exhausted his time for this meeting, so we can move on to the next caller.
CD10 is
Caller with the number ending in 0854. Can you please press star 6 to unmute? (0854).
Good morning. This is Laura Myers from United Neighborhoods Neighborhood Council. I realized after I filed both of the CISs, if I'm not allowed to speak on 2 items on behalf of the Neighborhood Council, I should yield my time at this point because there's a second item. So I would need some advice.
Go ahead, Ms. Myers. We'll recognize you on the second item.
Thank you so much. I'm going to do this quickly anyway. Yes. Thank you. The United Neighborhoods of the historic Arlington Heights, West Adams, and Jefferson Park communities, long name Neighborhood Council, we are devoted in part to historic preservation, advocating for historic preservation. We reviewed this application before it was submitted to the Office of Historic Resources all the way back in 2018. This is how long it's taken. And we definitely support the designation of this building. And one of our other board members went along on the tour. It is intact.
It's a really great example of Art Deco style. And importantly, it is in the position now, still standing, to be able to be converted to housing of multiple units because it already is. The zone is R2, which would only allow a duplex. So there is no development pressure on this site. So for all of those reasons, we do support, well, mostly the historical, we do support the nomination, and thank you.
Caller with a number ending in 7719.
You interrupted me. It's Eric Previn. Apparently I'm not allowed to speak on this item. I don't know why that would be.
Terry Kaufman, Messiah City Attorney's Office. I believe it's because you spoke during the multiple agenda item portion. So you had your opportunity then.
The chair concurs with the city attorney. Also, there's a limit to how much each person can speak in total per meeting, and you've exhausted that.
Caller with the number ending in 6070. Can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Hi, this is Roland Souza calling from West Adams Heritage Association. And I would echo what Laura Myers has said about the integrity of this monument. And I totally agree with Ken Bernstein's assessment of this and the association with an interesting and vital part of Los Angeles history. The woman's story is quite amazing at that site. So I would encourage us to move forward and support this nomination. Thank you.
Caller with the number ending in 6070. Can you please press *6 to unmute?
Yes, this is Roland Souza, West Adams Heritage. I support the nomination of this important Art Deco building in our neighborhood. And I also thank the people who did the nomination. It's an incredibly intact building. It has great opportunities to be reused as housing. And it has a wonderful story about one of the female the woman who did the eye therapy at that site. It's an interesting story for sure. And I urge us to move forward with the nomination of this important building. Thank you.
Caller with a number ending in 8408. Can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Hi, thank you. Yeah, so specifically for this item, I hope you guys will allow, callers in the same latitude that was allowed to Councilmember Cedillo in speaking broadly to the fact that oftentimes these historical monument designations are part of a much larger conversation in our city, specifically around the preservation of affordable housing, gentrification, and other issues that come with the replacement of housing that is currently affordable. And the fact that, you've created a process here where people calling in are forced to stick to the topic of an environmental review, while their arguments are then undermined by council members speaking to broader topics. That's because you have created a system that does not allow for the public to make their broader concerns heard in a serious way. and you should seriously think about, the process that you've created and whether it actually allows for serious and substantial public input. Because what often happens on these is two conversations happening back and forth across one another that allows certain people sort of a privileged place to stifle discussion, while others are sort of put in the forefront, allowed to make arguments out of both sides of their mouth about, building density. I am on topic.
Off topic. Please go to the next caller.
That concludes our callers for this item.
Excellent. So we'll begin our deliberation of this matter by hearing from Mr. Ridley Thomas.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I want to thank the staff for their work on this issue. The School of Eye Education building not only holds a fascinating and important role in our city's history of promoting health and educational advancement, but the design of the building itself, I think it's fair to say, is considered, as has already been indicated, an excellent example of the streamlined modern style. So I appreciate the efforts to highlight and celebrate this special location and fully support the recommendation for the building to be included on the list of historic cultural monuments. Mr. Chairman, I think it's wholly appropriate, and at the appropriate time, I'm prepared to cast my aye vote, and when you deem it appropriate, I would so move.
Excellent. Is there any other discussion from members? If not, Mr. Mejia, I believe we have instructions that my expectation is Mr. Ridley Thomas will move after you read.
Yes, the recommendation is to approve the inclusion of the School of Eye Education and adopt the Cultural Heritage Commission findings in its report of October 13, 2020. The property located at 1554 through 1560 South St. Andrews Place and 51 through 2371 West Venice Boulevard in the city's list of historic cultural monuments.
Excellent. It's been moved by Mr. Ridley Thomas, seconded by Mr. Harris Dawson. Can you call the roll, Mr. Mejia?
Yes. Councilmember Marquise Harris Dawson as chair.
Yes.
Councilmember Gilbert Cedillo, I believe he has excused himself. Councilmember Bob Blumenfield.
Blumenfield, aye.
Councilmember Mark Ridley Thomas.
Aye.
Councilmember John Lee.
Aye.
That's 4 votes. It carries, Mr. Chair.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mejia. Thank you,
Councilmember, sorry to interrupt. Terry Kaufman, Mesilla City Attorney's Office. Apparently, for item 9, there was a problem with the applicant, the person who made the nomination for the designation, and that she was not able to get her call through.
She spoke. She said, I'm the applicant. Is there another person that's claiming to be the applicant?
I think this is the person who, if staff can correct or can confirm, she was not the applicant for the project. She's the applicant for the designation.
Got it. So what is your suggestion?
So my suggestion is to make a motion to reopen item 9 and set aside your prior vote, then take her comment, and then take a new vote.
All right. I'm making such a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Blumenfield. Mr. Mejia, can you call the roll?
Councilmember Marquise Harris Dawson as chair.
Yes.
Councilmember Gilbert Cedillo has left. Councilmember Bob Blumenfield.
Blumenfield, aye.
Councilmember Mark Ridley Thomas.
Aye.
Councilmember John Lee.
Aye.
That's 4 members, and it carries.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mejia. All right. Can we get the applicant into the meeting now?
She's on the call. Carol Citron, can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Hello, hi, thank you. I know that took a while, but yes, I'm Carol Citroni. I'm with the Silver Lake Heritage Trust, and I was informed by the Office of Historic Resources that I was the designated speaker for the to make the presentation today, and I have correspondence from the Office of Historic Resources. I was on this call since 9:30 this morning so that my number would be recognizable. The person that I called just now on the emergency number recognized my number and called me by name, so I was all set up to make my presentation, which was I was instructed to do by the OHR. I am one of the applicants of this nomination, and I think it's highly irregular, if not illegal, for the public comment to be paused while Mr. Cedillo makes his comment and his judgment on the item, and then resume public comment in order for him to leave the meeting early. I will be contacting the city attorney's office. I'm not asking for a revote. I think that this was a highly irregular and highly convoluted way of doing things. I've never been to a meeting where they've closed public comment, allowed a committee member to speak and to give his opinion. By the way, there were some errors in that opinion, which I would have gone into if I had had the time. But this is highly irregular, and I believe it's illegal for the meeting to be arranged this way and for public comment to be paused while the decision maker gives his basically his decision and his recommendation, and then continue public comment when the public comment is meant to inform the decision. So you're putting the cart before the horse here. It's highly suspect. I suspect that it's a violation. It might be a Brown Act violation. I will be contacting the city attorney. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Happy to accommodate your input into the discussion.
Now you get to sue the city.
All right. So glad we got you back on mute. Mr. Mejia, I would take or let me ask Ms. Coffin-Macias if we can take a vote to affirm the previous action.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. So I'm making a motion that we approve the previous action on this item. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Blumenfield. Mr. Mejia, can you call the roll?
Yes, and just to be clear, the recommendation is one to disapprove the inclusion.
Right.
I'll call the roll. Councilmember Marquise Harris Dawson as chair.
Yes.
Councilmember Gilbert Cedillo has stepped out, but he originally voted for disapproval. Councilmember Bob Blumenfield.
Blumenfield, aye.
Councilmember Mark Ridley Thomas.
Aye.
Councilmember John Lee.
Aye.
Terry Kaufman-Macias, but the councilman's not here now, so
right.
There's no
Correct.
vote for him.
Correct. So we have 4 members, and it carries, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. So as I recall, after that detour, we were considering item number 8. We'd heard public comment. We'd heard from Mr. Bernstein. We'd heard from the neighborhood council, and we'd heard from Council Member Ridley Thomas. I believe that there was a motion before us.
We did, and we took. That. Yes, I'll restate it. We took a vote, Mr. Chairman. We acted on that item.
So we're disposed of 8. We're now at 10.
Yes, sir.
Got it. Okay. If you can read item 10 into the record.
Mr. Chairman, item 10. This is an appeal filed by Enor Sina, and the appellant is appealing the determination of the zoning administrator as it relates to two conditions, condition number 8 relative to security and condition number 24 indemnification. The property is known as El Sereno Liquor Store, located at 3323 through 3331 Northeastern Avenue in CD 14.
All right, we'll begin our deliberation of this item by hearing from Department of City Planning.
Good morning, Honorable Council members. My name is Matthew Lum, and I'm joined by Vanessa Soto, and we're from the City Planning Department. The matter before you is an appeal of case number DIR-2016-4686-RV-PA1, which is a plan approval for a condition compliance review in which the zoning administrator determined the operation of El Sereno Liquor Store had substantially complied with the corrective conditions that were imposed in its parent revocation case on March 20th, 2018. The applicant operator is appealing two conditions, condition number 8, which is hiring of a security guard, condition number 24, which is standard indemnification reimbursement of litigation costs language, which is found in every planning department entitlement. The plan approval was reasonable as the zoning administrator modified the parent revocation case in the following manner. 1, eliminating the future plan approval filing for further condition compliance review, extending the hours of operation, allowing longer business hours operating from 6 a.m. to 2 a.m. daily, imposing a security guard on duty for safety and security, and also including the standard indemnification language. So City Planning recommends to deny the appeal and sustain the action of the zoning administrator. However, if the Planning and Land Use Management Committee is to grant the appeal, the zoning administrator recommends to impose the filing of a plan approval for further condition compliance review after 18 months from the effective date of the council action to reevaluate the operation of El Sereno Liquor Store, and also to scale back the closing time from 2 a.m. to 10 p.m. in lieu of hiring a security guard. So the zoning administrator's goal is to fully abate the nuisances that were at the subject property and not squander valuable LAPD resources as it once did. Thank you very much for your time, and both Vanessa and I are here to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll now move to hear from our appellant. Do we have our appellant in the queue?
Just a moment. We're trying to identify where the caller went. Inor Sina, can you please press *6 to unmute? Inor Sina, I need you to press *6 so we can hear you.
Yes. Hi.
Hi, we can hear you in your public comment.
Oh, yes. My son can speak on behalf of me?
Okay.
Hi, this is Kazi Rahman. I'm the son of Kazi Shorab and Irisina. So good afternoon, Mr. President and council members. So we are contesting, or actually requesting, that our conditions 13 and 8 be removed, because we've complied with all all demands and regulations. We've worked with LAPD. LAPD's been we've been in good relations with LAPD, and city council members have also several of the city council members have also have been in favor with us, and since before the regulations were in place, or the sanctions have been in place, we have been in compliance and have not made any violations in terms of any business violations or any kind of any other restrictions. That's all for now. Thank you.
Thank you so much from our appellant. And with that, we'll hear from a representative from Council District 14. I believe we have Ms. Howard on the call.
Good morning, council members. Emma Howard, Senior Planner, Council District 14, Office of Councilmember De Leon, here to speak on item number 10, an appeal of the determination of the zoning administrator in approving plans to modify condition number 8 for security and to add a new condition number 24, indemnification, for the operation of the market known as El Serino Liquor Store. Councilmember De Leon is fully supportive of the determination made by the zoning administrator and staff. The corrective conditions set by the planning department have greatly improved safety at this location and increased community well-being in an area in our district which has justifiable concerns about the proliferation of alcohol uses. These conditions strike a reasonable balance between allowing a long-standing use to continue to operate while ensuring that all residents are safe and free of impact. The zoning administrator took into consideration the measures to ensure that none was so burdensome as to harm the ability of the business to continue to operate. Our field staff notes that the safety at this location is greatly improved since the planning department took action. Therefore, we recommend you deny this appeal and uphold the conditions.
Thank you, Ms. Howard. We'll now go to public comment. If there are folks who want to speak on item number 10, you want to press *9 to raise your hand. I'll turn the floor to staff to facilitate public comment.
Caller with the number ending in 8978. Can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Okay.
We can hear you.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Anthony Manzano, former president of LA 32 Neighborhood Council, still extremely active with LAPD and Los Angeles Fire Department. Being one of the neighborhood watch members, I'm familiar with this location and the site. I have met with the owners numerous times at several meetings, and we do realize that they've made substantial improvements to the property. And what we would like to ask is at least for item number 8 to release that condition so that they could not require a security guard on site. They've improved lighting. They keep the area clean. Most of the situation occurred with a recycling center that was once adjacent to it, which did involve with drugs. But they've also incorporated a surveillance system that has face detection there on site. So if something does come up with the police department, they'll be able to make sure that the patrons inside the facility are safe. The big problem with the crime is not at the liquor store. It's along with the negative elements along Huntington Drive, which do impact the community. But for this particular item, the El Serino Liquor Store, if you could be just so kind and lenient as to release item number 8 as requiring a security guard. Thank you very much.
Caller with the number 9984. Can you please press *6 to unmute?
Hi, I'm calling because I'm deeply concerned that this liquor store seems to be targeted. It's targeting of Black and Brown communities. There appears to be issues. I am aware of the area. I actually work nearby the Tech Health Science campus, and asking for a security guard is an undue burden to this store, and this would not be
minute. That concludes our speakers for this item.
Thank you so much to folks who've called in on this item. Is there any further discussion or questions, members, on this item? Seeing none, I believe we have an instruction that I will move. Mr. Mejia, if you'll read it into the record. You're on mute, Mr. Mejia.
My apologies. Mr. Chairman, before proceeding, is the representative for CD14, will she be speaking?
She spoke.
She did?
Yeah. She want to speak again?
Just wanted to ensure that she had spoken for the record.
All right.
So the recommendation, Mr. Chairman and committee members, is to deny the appeal filed by Inor Sina relative to the El Sereno liquor store, and thereby sustain the planning department's zoning administrator determination imposing conditions number 8 relative to security and 24 indemnification for the property located at 3323 Northeastern Avenue in CD14.
All right. It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Blumenfield. Mr. Mejia, can you call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Councilmember Marquise Harris Dawson.
Yes.
Councilmember Gilbert Cedillo has left the meeting. Councilmember Bob Blumenfield.
Blumenfield, aye.
Councilmember Mark Ridley Thomas.
Aye.
Councilmember John Lee.
Aye.
That's 4 members, and it carries, Mr. Chair.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Mr. Mejia. That takes us to item number 11.
Yes, Councilman. Item 11 is a report from the South Los Angeles Area Planning Commission. It includes an appeal filed by James Childs from the North University Park Community Association. He's appealing the approval of the vesting tract map for 8 units and the categorical exemption therein. The project is situated in CD10.
If I may, Mr. Chair, a community impact statement has been submitted by the United Neighborhoods Neighborhood Council for the matter.
So noted. Thank you for that information. We'll begin our deliberation of this item by hearing from Department of City Planning.
Good afternoon, council members. This is Connie Chow from the Planning Department. Item 11 is a CEQA appeal of a subdivision case for an 8-unit condominium in South LA under case number ENV 2017-3217-CE-1A. Before we get into the CEQA appeal points, staff would like to provide some background for context. The advisory agency's approval of the tract map was appealed to City Council on March 17, 2020. However, due to hearings being postponed last March and April due to COVID-19, Council was not able to consider the item within the required time limit of the State Subdivision Map Act, which, as a state statute, is not subject to tolling under the Mayor's COVID emergency order. Therefore, Council lost jurisdiction and the tract approval was deemed final on April 8, 2020. Staff recently received new information that the applicant had begun the demolition process with the Department of Building and Safety for the on-site structure starting on May 1st, 2020, which consisted of the demolition pre-inspection prior to the CEQA appeal being filed. According to LADBS records, on June 12th, a second inspection was conducted for the sewer cap. At the time, the buildings were already demolished, and a third and final inspection was on June 16th, and the demolition permit was finalized on June 17th, 2020. The site is currently under construction as an apartment building that is permitted by right and did not require CEQA nor planning review and was permitted by Building and Safety based on the pre-existing zoning at that time. Subsequent to the loss of Council's jurisdiction on the tract map, a notice was issued by the city clerk on June 1st stating that the period to file for a CEQA appeal was extended to June 15th. The CEQA appeal was then filed on June 2nd by an aggrieved party, Jim Childs of the North University Park Community Association. The appellant raised several appeal points in opposition of the project, including the applicability of the South LA CPIO, historic status of the buildings, unusual circumstances and cumulative impacts, building line, and other design concerns. Staff has transmitted to the council file a staff response to the appeal points raised. However, we would like to highlight a few for your attention at this time. First, the appellant contends that the provisions of the South LA Community Plan and CPIO character residential overlay should apply. However, the project was issued building permits from the Department of Building and Safety on July 20th, 2018, before the CPIO became effective on December 29th, 2018. Therefore, per LAMC Section 1226, the project is vested from the CPIO. Second, the appellant contends that the project is removing historic structures. However, a historic resource assessment prepared by an expert determined that the project does not meet eligibility requirements as a historic resource due to heavy alterations of the primary facade and structure. The report was reviewed and accepted by the Office of Historic Resources. Therefore, the site was not considered a historic resources under CEQA.
Is she addressing the concerns?
Yes. Third, the appellant contends that the project is in violation of building line requirements and expressed concerns about the general building design. However, as demonstrated through the building permit issuance from Building and Safety, the project complies with the building line requirements and all other applicable zoning regulations. In addition, the State Subdivision Map Act prohibits the advisory agency from considering building design as part of the subdivision approval process. Therefore, the advisory agency has no authority or discretion to consider building design. Lastly, the site is within a transit priority area. Therefore, under Senate Bill 743, aesthetic impacts for projects within a transit priority area are not considered significant impacts on the environment. The appellant has not presented substantial evidence of cumulative impacts under CEQA and has not presented evidence that the city has erred or abused in its discretion in approving the project. Therefore, planning staff recommends that Plum and Council deny the CEQA appeal and determine that based on the whole of the administrative record, the project is exempt from CEQA pursuant to CEQA guidelines section 15332 or class 32, and there is no substantial evidence demonstrating that an exception to a categorical exemption applies. That concludes staff presentation, and we're available for any questions. Thank you.
All right, now I believe we'll hear from our appellant first, followed by our applicant, each for 3 minutes.
Jim Childs, can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Good morning, council members. Jim Childs, the appellant. I'd like to welcome back Council Member Mark Ridley Thomas to West Adams. Nice to have you back, Councilman. I'm here today regarding 1509 South Gramercy Place to urge you to uphold my appeal, to reject the categorical exemption, and require a thorough environmental review that evaluates and mitigates the damage done to the Angeles Vista neighborhood by the circumstances of this project. Incredibly, while we were waiting this hearing, Building and Safety permitted the demolition of the house. When an appeal was duly filed, and it follows both city and state law, and the dispute involves the historic status of a building, the city is not permitted to allow the demolition of the subject property. I would ask, therefore, for a full investigation of what happened here. The demolition of the 1904 house underscores the cumulative impact of demolitions in the Angeles Vista neighborhood. Since the 1990s, the residents have been asking for a historic district status. They thought they finally got it when the city adopted the new charter character residential overlay district in 2017. During those 25 years of working towards this goal, there were no demolitions in Angeles Vista. But during the past 2 years since the district has been in place, we have had half a dozen homes demolished, and there are at least 3 more pending. The sheer volume of the demolitions in this pocket neighborhood in this short period of time is the very definition of cumulative impacts under CEQA. I and my colleagues are also concerned about the procedures planning staff are using in Angeles Vista. The community was promised that the new character districts would be just like HPOZs, except without a board. But in an HPOZ, a developer is not allowed to hire a consultant of his or her choice to prepare a self-dealing report that claims a property is not historic, even if it's already listed as 1509 Gramercy was. If we allow this to continue, we will have more conflict, more damage to the character of the neighborhood, and bringing this back to CEQA, expanding cumulative impacts to the district. So again, I ask you to support my appeal, reject the categorical exemption, and prepare an MND that provides mitigations to the damages already done. Perhaps you could require some of the new condominium units to be set aside as affordable housing, for example, along with some mitigation that helps conserve the remaining character buildings in Angeles Vista. I hope that you can and will do something to help the community. Thank you very much for your consideration. I conclude my remarks.
Thank you so much, Mr. Childs. Now we'll hear from the applicant, Mr. Friedman.
Daniel Friedman, can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Got it. Good morning, council members. I was just talking to myself for a minute there. This is Daniel Friedman with Jeffrey Mingles, Butler & Mitchell. I'm here speaking on behalf of the applicant, Mr. Timothy Robbins. I want to just express my support for the staff recommendation to deny the appeal. I do want to emphasize what's before you today, which is an appeal of a CEQA exemption. The project itself is final. The subdivision was approved by operation of the law, and so really all that's before the council at this point is this appeal of the CEQA determination. And what the staff report shows and the evidence before you shows is that the categorical exemption was properly issued, and there is no basis to overturn it based on this appeal. The historic report, to be clear, that was submitted in connection with the demolition of this property was reviewed by the Office of Historic Resources, and they confirmed based on their independent judgment that it was not a historic resource. They also confirmed, based on that analysis, that there were no cumulative impacts caused by this project. And so the appeals concerns, I would suggest, seem to be more of a broader concern over historic resources in the area, and less so with respect to the actual impacts caused by this project and by this categorical exemption. I would ask that the City Council allow this project to proceed, although the project, like I said, is final, but really to deny this appeal and to allow my client to move forward with building new housing in the area. And much needed for sale housing, which is a rarity nowadays for people to be building. With that, I would like to preserve any time necessary to answer any questions the council officers may have regarding the process, the demolition, which I can address as well, or the substantial evidence in the record being supported by the staff recommendation. Thank you very much, council members.
All right, thank you so much to our applicant and appellant. I don't see any public comment speakers in the queue, so we'll go to Ms. Myers from the Neighborhood Council if she's on the line. Do we have Ms. Myers on the line?
Just a moment. I don't believe Ms. Myers has called in to the meeting.
All right, well, we'll begin our deliberations by hearing from Councilmember Ridley Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank the staff for their report. I should note that I was somewhat surprised to see that we are deliberating a CEQA appeal for a site where demolition has already occurred and a by right project is already well under construction. And I would add that I'm in agreement with the staff's justification that a denial of the appeal is appropriate. But I think this matter calls into question, Mr. Chairman, the protocols, the processes, procedures in place between the respective departments, building and safety and planning, when building permits are issued. It seems to me that before that occurs, it would be appropriate for building and safety to confer and minimally notify the planning department to confirm that no other entitlements are pending. And I would respectfully, should you deem it appropriate, Mr. Chairman, request that both departments review this matter and implement, or if necessary, bring forth suitable recommendations to avoid this type of circumstance moving forward. The staff report sought to speak to this, clarify it to some degree. I'm simply requesting additional drill down so that the committee, the chair is confident and or comfortable that we've anticipated anything of this sort in the future, and certainly would be appropriate to avoid it. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ridley Thomas. Any questions or comments from Mr. Lee or Mr. Blumenfield? All right. Seeing none, Mr. Mejia, Mr. Ridley Thomas has put forward a motion with an amendment. If you could read that into the record for our consideration.
Yes, there will be two recommendations. The first recommendation from Councilmember Ridley Thomas was to instruct building and safety and city planning to avoid a similar situation in the future, to develop protocols whereby any other projects that do not have any other entitlements pending do not go through a similar process, and to report back on those recommendations. The second recommendation, committee members, is to deny the appeal filed by James Childs and thereby sustain the determination of the South LA APC to approve the categorical exemption based on the review of the whole administrative record, that it's exempt from CEQA and as stated by the planner in her presentation, and all relative to the approval of the tentative tract map to permit a subdivision of one 13,146 square foot lot for the construction, use, and maintenance of an 8-unit condominium project with 18 parking spaces, 2 guest parking spaces, and the demolition of the existing single-family and duplex building for the property located at 1509 through 1515 South Gramercy Place in CD10.
Excellent. It's been moved by Mr. Ridley Thomas, seconded by Mr. Harris Dawson. There's no further discussion. Mr. Mejia, can you call the roll?
Yes. Councilmember Marquise Harris Dawson as chairman.
Yes.
Councilmember Gilbert Cedillo left the meeting. Councilmember Bob Blumenfield.
Blumenfield, aye.
Councilmember Mark Ridley Thomas.
Aye.
Councilmember John Lee.
Aye.
And that's 4 members, and it carries, Mr. Chairman.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Mr. Mejia, and thank you to the staff and folks who commented on this item. Mr. Mejia, can you confirm that that concludes our business for today?
That concludes all our items, Mr. Chairman.
Excellent. We are adjourned. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.